Morning. It is Monday. It is the 2022 version of September the 19th. You're back here with me, Sean Butler, and my co-pilot, Bugsy Malone, at the Spurs Talk Show, as we bring to you episode 48 of Tottenham Walks. If you're new to the channel, then welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. But regardless of your status, if you wouldn't mind doing me a favour and smashing the like button and the subscribe button and indeed the notification bell, then you can keep up to date with all of the latest content that we bring to you. And there should be quite a lot coming out in between now and our next game against Arsenal, simply because there was so much to talk about from the Tottenham Leicester game. And you know, I try to keep these videos, less than 15 minutes, and I think that the game probably needs 4 or 5 of these to fully break down. So I'm going to start today with the main points, and then we can go into each of them in more detail over the next few days. But obviously the takeaway of the game, well, look, there was a lot of good, a lot of reasons to be positive, far more reasons to be positive than anything else. Great result again, 6-2, the 4-goal cushion. It was fantastic to see. You know, we've got our Sonny back, hat-trick boy. Once he got the first, it was never in doubt, was it, that he was going to go on and get more. And I think there was, you know, some of the best performances that I've seen from players like Rodrigo Bentancur. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal on the day, especially in the second half. But generally throughout, I thought he just looked the absolute business. I thought Decky looked fantastic again on the right hand side. And obviously, we're going to talk about this as well, the formation switch up in the second half to go to a 3-5-2. I mean, it made us look so much more balanced, so much more comfortable. And obviously it was the first time we've seen Bissouma come in wearing a Tottenham shirt and show glimpses of the player he was at Brighton. You know, maybe, again, far too early to speculate, but that was the kind of, he played with a 3 at Brighton around him, and until now he's been asked to play in a 2. It's a big difference for certain midfielders, for certain players. So it was fantastic to see him come in and put in a solid shift. There were some disappointments though, guys. Obviously, you know, I think we were speaking about on this channel how it would look to see Perisic on the right, you know, in lieu of the fact that Conte has said that Spence isn't ready and that Doherty's still injured. That there was really 2 options, right? Or 3 options, I guess. You either maintained playing Emerson, or people were asking to put Decky in there. And I explained on my previous walk why I thought that might be, you know, it's an idea, it's an interesting one, and it could be one that's used in games. But to start a game with Decky at right wing back, and then all of our front 3 on the pitch at the same time, it kind of leaves you with very few options if the game doesn't go the way or start the way that you'd want. So I was interested to see Perisic at right wing back and Sessegnon at left wing back. But I think on both counts, I thought it was a little bit disappointing. I thought Sessegnon looked woeful at times in the first half defensively. His positional play, his awareness was, you know, I usually find Sessegnon pretty good defensively, but I thought in the first half he was all over the place at the left wing back spot. And I thought, look, Perisic, I'll be honest, I'm disappointed there as well, because I thought he started okay with Decky. I thought Decky and him had a little bit of synergies and chemistries going in the first 25 minutes, but you know, you have to also recognise that it wasn't just Sanchez that was responsible for that penalty in the opening 5 minutes of the game. You know, Perisic was caught out positionally, and he was caught at one point with the ball, right, which started that move, which then led to Sanchez making those 2 or 3 ridiculous sliding tackles, and I don't know what happened. He lost his head. Obviously that was a disappointment because, you know, usually you can rely on Sanchez. If there's one part of his game that's better than the other, then his defending is usually fairly astute. Now, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater on Sanchez, because I actually think he grew into the game really well after that 5 minutes. He made the mistake, right? So a lot of people are going to say that was it. You know, like, it doesn't matter if he grew back into the game. He screwed up early, but you can't sub a player after 7 minutes. So you need them to get over their mistake, man up, and put in a shift for the rest of the game. And I think he did that. I think his defending got better, and I think he offered some threats going forward aerially as well. And he hit the bar, right? So, I wouldn't give him. You have to take away maximum points from whatever his performance deserved because of the mistake at the start. But generally, I thought he was pretty good after that. But to get to the real nitty gritty, guys, I feel like, how long have I been talking for? 5 minutes, okay. So, I guess the real crunch comes down to like Conte's formations and whether or not Sonny's substitution or resting, whatever you want to call it, was the catalyst for his hat trick, or whether it would have happened anyway. And I think that you always have to point out, because right now I'm seeing once again two different narratives within the Tottenham fan base. One of them, or both of them, kind of feel like they're vindicated. The ones who said he should never have been dropped, this is disrespectful to Sonny, are saying, well, if he scored a hat-trick in 20 minutes, imagine how many goals he could have scored had he started. So the substitution didn't prove anything, and it's just Sonny's form. He's a sort of player that goes through patches where he doesn't play well, doesn't score goals for 5 or 6 games, and then suddenly he'll come back in and bang in. I think last season there was a period of 5 games where he didn't score, and then he came back in and scored like a lot of goals in like 6 or 7 goals in 4 games or something like that. So there's that argument, right? That it wasn't the substitution, it wasn't the rotation that kicked him into gear. It was always going to happen anyway. But then you've got the other side who will say, well, look, all it took was to rotate him, and he comes back in fired up, angry, with a point to prove, and boy did he prove it. I tend to think that the latter is more true, but the problem with life, guys, as I've said this before on the channel a number of times, is you can't know both outcomes. You can't be in a position where you know what happened with the decision we made and what would have happened had we made the other decision. Schrodinger's cat. Said it 5 or 6 times on my channel. So all you can look at is the outcome of the decision you made, and then take a positive approach to say, well, did it work or didn't it? And absent any other information, you must say it clearly worked. And the timing of it couldn't have been better, because Sonny's going to go away now on international duty, and his confidence is going to be back, and he'll come back in, and we need him firing on all cylinders for the Arsenal game to give us any chance of getting a win at the Emirates. And I think now we have that. So let's go back, shall we, Bubba? So to me, I think it worked. Although, listen, I also understand. You could see on the look on his face when he scored the goal with his, finger up to his mouth. I don't know who he was saying that to. Was he telling Tottenham fans, like, shut your mouth, you ungrateful people? Because I think he must realise, right, that football generally, as a fan base, fans are fairly fickle, and they have a mentality of what have you done for me lately? And that's not just aimed at him, it's aimed at everyone, right? Like, it's aimed at, look at the Juventus manager right now. Like, they're calling for him out. Liverpool fans calling for Klopp to go. and for FSG to go, you know, it's everywhere, right? Arteta in, Arteta out, Arteta shake it all about. There's a what have you done for me lately just narrative that exists in passionate people. Recency bias. So I hope that Sonny doesn't take it personally, that some sections of the fans were asking for him to be rested. I didn't see anybody, not that I go on Twitter very much, so I'm sure it exists there, every opinion exists on Twitter, but within the community I didn't really see anybody, you know, angry with Sonny or you know, calling for drastic change. I think at worst I just saw people saying, you know, Sonny is not the same Sonny, and the best thing for the team right now, in their opinion, was that he take a step back for a game and hope that that gives him the kick up the backside that he needs, so that we can all get the Sonny that we love back. And kind of tough love, right? Tough love. And I think that was the general theme of those people who were asking for him to be rested. And they got what they wanted. And the result was brilliant, right? The result was absolutely brilliant. It makes it easier going forward now to stick to the old front three of Sonny, Decky and Kane, because I feel like Tottenham are not the same team when Decky's on the bench. Decky offers so much. He's technically brilliant, he's so intelligent, his strength is insane, and his communication and chemistry with Harry Kane, especially Harry Kane, but also with the others up front, is second to none. Second to none. So I think that you have to include him. And after the Sonny hat-trick, you have to include him, and of course you include Harry Kane. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say that Richy, he hasn't really, like, he has moments. I think he's had moments of impact when he comes on and he runs around with passion and energy, and I love his character. I adore the personality that he brings to the squad. But technically, I just don't think he's not even in the same conversation as Decky with the weighting of his passes, his decision making. You know, I know he scored 2 fantastic headers, and I'm not giving up on Richy at all. I think the guy's a very, very valuable part of the squad. And like I say, I had my reservations about spending £60 million on him, and I still do, because I think that was £60 million that could have been spent elsewhere. But I'm not saying anything bad about him. I just think that right now it's clear who the 3 that should be starting are, if we're going to continue with a 3-4-3. Now, shifting on to the formation, the 3-4-3 started, as I say, it was an interesting first half. I think Leicester probably had the edge in the first half. Second half was a different game altogether. Tottenham just, you know, steamrolled them, but that in no small part was down to, I think, the formation change to go to a 3-5-2 with Basuma in the middle of the 3. I think it changed the game dramatically, and it added more balance and comfort to the team, and allowed, you know, Sonny to have the space in behind to do what he did. I would say people that are saying we've now found our new formation, I think that they should probably, you know, pause a little bit on that one, because like I say, it's only been tested in a situation where we were already leading when it was introduced, and we were playing against Leicester, who are just absolutely atrocious defensively. So I think it's too early to tell if it's the solution, and whether you go for Højbjerg, Bentancur and Bissouma across the 3 and have Son and Kane up front, and then either have Decky and Richarlison on the bench, or maybe bring in Decky as a right wing back, etc. There's options there. There's lots of options now, which is great. But Or the other way you could do it, of course, is have Decky in a 10 role and leave Basuma or Bentancur or Højbjerg out. As long as there's 3 in the midfield, I think you'll see a more accomplished and familiar Basuma than what we've seen in the West Ham game, for example. But what I think that the main takeaways, guys, are that we now have options, right? Well, I think formationally we have options, and that the changes worked. The changes definitely worked, but there's so much more to analyse. You know, Conte starting the game with Romero on the bench and Sonny on the bench. What was that thought process? You know, on the one hand, I think you could make the argument for those people that say the reason why Conte doesn't make too many subs is because he looks at the bench and doesn't see players that can improve the game, improve the team during the game. Maybe Conte bending to pressure from the fans, pressure from the journalists, to utilise his bench more, and of course to rest Sonny. Maybe part of the rationale for starting Sanchez and putting Romero on the bench was so that he had the ability to go to his bench and bring on players of an equal or better standard than those on the pitch. And that's interesting, right? Like, you know, there's something to say about that. That if you start the team with, you know, not a slightly weaker, but with some of the members on the pitch who would usually be on the bench, and you have a super strong bench, and you can still be involved in the game, still be level or winning at half time, then you have an incredible amount of options of high quality players and high energy levels that going into the second half, and you can step on a gear. Almost like, you know, Formula One, whether you do like a 1-stop or a 2-stop or a 3-stop strategy. Sometimes, not that I understand too much about Formula One, but from what I gather, sometimes people that pick certain strategies, it's done with the intention that you're going to start a little bit slower. You know, you're going to have a heavier tank of fuel, for example, so you're not going to be that competitive in the first part of the race. But hopefully, if you can stay within touching distance of the guys that have a different strategy, a lighter fuel load, then the fact that you only have 1 stop to make will eventually pay dividends in the second half. I'm interested to figure that one out over the next couple of weeks, whether or not there is some merit to the idea of playing sometimes our second choice players in the first half of the game, so that when we go to the bench we can really have major impact in the second stages. Love to know your thoughts on that. Love to know your thoughts on Conte's tactics generally. Do you think it was always part of his plan? Do you think he somewhat bent to the pressure? And generally speaking, were you happy when you saw the formation and the lineup? And what do you think that the outcome of those decisions now means for the Arsenal game? You know, 3-5-2 from the start away at Arsenal, would that be something that makes sense? Be stubborn and difficult to break down for the first half, and then move to a 3-4-3 second half when our fitness levels generally are stronger than the other teams, and see if we can take advantage of a tiring Arsenal. So much to discuss, guys. So much to discuss. 2 weeks left to do it. I might do a show later. I might very well do a show later. But for now, I'll leave you with this. We're still not in any way the real deal, in my opinion. We've made a lot of changes, done a lot of experimentation against Leicester. In the end, it was a great game to watch. We got the result we needed. The performance in the second half was far higher, better football, and we've got our Sonny back. All great things, but it was against Leicester, and we still have problems in the wing backs. think that's going to be an ongoing issue until at least January. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I'll see you later on, either for a live stream or you'll see me this time tomorrow for episode 49 of Tottenham Walks. Like, share and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and as always guys, bye bye.